Today on the Ferment Station, let's talk about all the things that piss us off. Welcome to the Ferment Station. This is the podcast for the City Steading Brews YouTube channel. I'm Brian.
I'm Derica.
Let's get pissed off. I'm just joking. This is a very tongue-in-cheek episode.
Yes.
But there's a lot of truth behind it, and I do not want anyone to get offended by anything that we're about to say.
That is not our intent.
We've all been here at some point or another with some of the things that we're going to talk about, and don't realize that what we're saying could be construed as offensive. And a lot of the time, the only reason why it pisses us off is because it happens all the time. When you get the same comment 50 times, you just go, oh. But anyway.
Our intent actually for this is more of a unifying rather than a dividing topic. And that's because, there's always something that's going to get under your skin. And these are just the things that get under our skin.
Yeah. So if none of that made any sense to you, just sit back, relax, and listen to us rant for a little while. Because as Derica described this is just one long Brian rant.
Where I get to join along.
Yeah.
The first one is the one that pisses me off, and that's, you can't do that.
Yep. We get this. We used to get it more often than we do now. Someone would literally comment on a video where we just showed doing a thing that we can't do that thing the way we did it.
The thing that we just literally
just did it in the video.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. And usually it involved nutrients. That was a big one. You can't make mead without nutrients. Well, that's not true. You can't ferment at home was another one. You can't make something at home without methanol. Well, you're right. But the methanol is so low that it's not going to hurt you. There's so many of these. Oh my God. What are some that got you when they say you can't do, what can't you do?
Well, I've had that said to me nearly all my life, even before brewing. That's
I was talking about just brewing
really
and brewing related. Keep it somewhat narrow focused, or else we can be on the first one for like an hour.
Oh, sure. There's been some gender questions that girls can't brew, or
and that
guys can't detect flavor. Or
somebody actually said during tastings, only Derica should be the one allowed to give opinions because men can't taste anything. Someone said that. I'm like, where do people get their information from? Like, honestly, some of the comments, and the thing is, we love our viewers.
Yes.
Okay, we're so thankful that we have you.
And we love the interaction. We love the questions.
It's fantastic.
We love the comments.
It's just once in a while I go,
it's a real head scratcher.
Where did this come from? But you can't do that is a very common thing. And people will always want to point fingers and say, you have to do it this way. The converse to that is you have to do it this way. So it's not just that you can't do that. It's you have to do it this way or it won't work.
And the basis of this, of City Steading Brews or City Steading period really was fighting the man, if you will, where we're like
bringing it back to the home brewer.
It was done this simple method for generations,
for longer than it's been done the modern way.
Why can't we do that today? Why do we need all these things that didn't exist?
So I like to think that we use a healthy dose of modern science along with traditional methods and values.
Because we've had that thrown back at us as well. Oh, well, you don't use the chemicals, so why do you sanitize?
Yeah.
Well, because we know better.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a simple answer.
And people have actually, a lot of people have asked us to do a video where we don't sanitize just to see what happens. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, here's the thing. Because most of our stuff is so clean already, even if we didn't sanitize, probably nothing would happen.
But why risk it?
But if something did happen, what did we prove? Nothing. We proved that what we've been saying all along is right. But that's been proven over and over and over and over and over again by science and reality. If you don't wash, if you don't clean things, you can get sick. Yeah. That's just a simple fact. So showing that in a video doesn't make sense, especially since there's no guarantee that it's going to fail the first time. We might have to do it 50 times before something actually got an infection, in which case that's a huge waste. We're not into that. And because, see, everything goes into our own ethos and methodology. We don't like to waste anything.
No.
So if I have to make 3, 4, 5, 10 batches of something before one fails so I can show that and throw that away, I've just made all this other stuff that really doesn't serve any good purpose. Sure, it's mead or a brew and we could drink it, but we don't need to make more to drink. We actually should make less to drink. But on the recipe channel, CS Brews, we make like 45 to 50 brews a year because we want to show different recipes. I don't want to make 9 of the same thing because that doesn't do anything for that. I hope that makes sense. And that's part of why we won't do it, because to me, that's us promoting the idea of waste, all for the sake of showing you how to ruin something. Instead, I'd rather just say, sanitize. You should sanitize. You know what? You should sanitize. Hey, if you haven't thought of it yet, you should sanitize because it's a good thing to do because it prevents infections. I see that as so much more productive than showing a fail.
Yeah.
And I know that's a long rant, but that's a thing. It's important. It's one of the things that pisses me off.
So this is going to bring us to another one that's going to get Brian all heated under the collar.
Oh boy.
And I think the universal theme of all of these things is lack of understanding.
Yes, absolutely.
And some people just throw these things out because they don't understand the process the way that we do. And in some cases, it will get to the very end, they don't even understand what we actually understand.
Yeah.
So this next one is a word that we both cringe.
I despise this word.
And it gets thrown around a lot. And it's really discouraging, particularly in the homebrew sector, because this word doesn't mean what they think it means.
Yeah. And that word is pruno or prison wine. Either one. They mean the same thing. It's been accused, bandied about, joked about, memed about that homebrewing is making pruno or prison wine. That could not be further from the truth. I have watched videos about it. I have researched what it actually is, just so that I could educate myself. I have no intention of ever making it, but I wanted to understand what is really the difference so that I can speak educated on this. Speak educated? Yeah.
Sure.
Speak intelligently on the topic. And here's the thing. First, there's a lot of different ways to make pruno and prison wine. None of them are generally good. These are being made illegally, for one, using very limited resources and not in the most sanitary way. And they're using the most sanitary practices they can at the time, but that doesn't make it a good practice. Hiding things in a toilet bowl, not really the best way to keep sanitary. You know, using basically rotten and whatever materials to create something, not a good idea. Most people, many people, as they drink pruno and prison wine, are getting sick at the same time. They're literally getting sick. But hey, you know what? If you're incarcerated and that's all you have for some enjoyment is to get that little bit of a drunk feeling before you throw up, I guess I understand. It's not really for me. I've never had that situation. I hope I never do. And I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to be insulting to anyone at all. I know a lot of people have expressed that that's where they learned to brew, and that's fine. I can respect that. But I hope when you became a home brewer rather than a pruno maker, you use better practices because some of the things that are used to do this are just absolutely horrific and toxic. They're dangerous. It's not just alcohol being made. That's the funny part. There's like actual bacterial things happening that are making dangerous compounds, not just alcohol. So there's a huge distinction. And I've had people say that if you use juice to make wine or juice to make cider, that you're making pruno.
Nope.
That's not true at all. It's just not, because if you make wine, actual wine, they take grapes from the vine. They crush them. They ferment that. That is fermenting fruit juice. So if you just buy fruit juice and ferment it, honestly, I will say it may not be the same quality as the whole fruit being fermented from the grapevine, but it is still the same method, meaning it doesn't make it prison wine because you used grape juice you got at the grocery store.
Sure.
And that's where the whole pruno thing just really gets on my nerves when people like literally almost pointing a finger and saying that to us like we're doing something wrong. Yeah. I'm like, where did you get this from?
From our point of view, it's really insulting.
Yeah, it's very insulting because that's not what we do at all.
We pride ourselves in focusing on safe practices and trying to educate our viewers to
do the best you can.
Do the best that they can, and to work with reliable materials so that way they would have a higher success rate. If you're fermenting rotten fruit in your toilet bowl, that's really not the route that we promote here.
And if somebody ever told me, I think somebody did once at least, they told me they were doing it that way, and they said they were asking a question. I was like, honestly, you should flush it and you should start over the right way, because I'm not going to go along with that and try to teach you best practices if you've already started fermenting something in a toilet bowl.
Yeah.
Wow. It's just kind of crazy how people will take some of these ideas and run with them thinking that it's a good idea. And this is what's terrifying about being on this side of YouTube, is we get to hear from everyone. And, there's a lot of people that don't know anything about alcohol. They are terrified that they're going to poison themselves if they do it at home. And it's not, because there are a lot of misinformation pieces out there. There's a lot of, for whatever reason, a lot of people are trying to tell you that it's dangerous to do at home. It is no more dangerous to make homebrew than it is to cook your own dinner. Plain and simple. There's really no more danger to it than cooking your own dinner, because you can poison yourself by cooking food improperly, by treating it improperly, by letting it rot, and all these various things. Homebrew, it's actually harder, I would think, because worst case, it doesn't ferment. So you just have a really sweet beverage. Worst case, you see mold on it, in which case common sense should tell you, I probably shouldn't drink that. Or it smells absolutely horrid and wretched and rotten, in which case you probably shouldn't drink that. But that's the difference between like a Pruno kind of thing and a homemade wine or mead. Pruno, from my understanding, usually doesn't taste or smell very good. Now, there are apparently aficionados that make great Pruno and great prison wine. That's fine. But honestly, I wouldn't say that's something to be proud of as a home brewer.
That's not our aspiration.
Yeah, that's not what we aspire to. We want to make easy stuff that the average person can do at home that uses good quality ingredients and good methods to make something that you can enjoy. That's our goal.
So properly made homebrew is not Pruno.
Exactly.
So please stop calling it that.
Yeah, please. And I'm not going to say it.
We're done. We're done.
We're done. Moving on.
Speaking of something that we are, oh my gosh, so done with, is the great cider debate.
Yep.
Now we have an international audience, and we're actually quite proud of that. And we try to work really hard with our friends across the sea, so that way we can make sure that they're getting the right resources, and we have limited ability of doing that, but we try to figure out how to convert our recipes to metric. I try to always have a subset of the metric conversions, which we'll get to later, and give alternative products that might work based on availability. But
the cider name.
Okay, so we, if you haven't figured it out yet, live in the United States of America. And
we're American. Can you tell? Do I sound like I'm British?
In the United States of America, an alcoholic apple beverage is called hard cider.
If you're in a country where it's just called cider, you are correct to call it cider. You are not correct to tell me that I have to call it cider. That happens almost on a daily basis. But when we call it cider, people in the United States get confused, because in the United States, you have apple juice and you have cider, and they're both technically apple juice. One is cloudy, one is not. I think in England, they call it cloudy juice instead of cider.
Right.
Personally, I think we should just call the alcoholic stuff cider, period.
Sure.
That's my personal take. I agree with the English on this. However, I don't make the rules, and we don't make the nomenclature that people call it. Because if you look on any shelf and you see cider that's alcoholic, it's going to be called hard cider in the United States. That's just the way it is.
So
getting mad at us and calling us names and being rude about it. This is the one that people get the most rude about, that we don't call it the right name. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, seriously, in this country, it's hard cider. In your country, it's cider. They're different things.
So the best we can do, and it's what we've been trying to do now, is just to acknowledge that They're different words in different locations. And so we kind of use them both to
We've actually done a video on this.
To try to help everybody understand what the heck we're talking about. But getting triggered and being insulting is just not appropriate, regardless of what the topic is. That's not going to be helpful for us to help you if you actually have a serious question. And it's certainly not going to motivate us to want to respond to you at all in a positive fashion.
There have been several, I mean, more than a few, like many people who literally just got abusive and rude about cider versus hard cider, because anything that's different from the way they think is absolutely completely wrong, and we know nothing about what we're talking about because of that. I'm like, what is wrong with people?
It's like, okay, if you don't speak English, do I have to use your words? And does that make me stupid? No, it's just,
according to them, it does.
It's just words, people.
But the other side to it too is like, we do try, because we do have an international audience, we do try to be more open to things, because not every culture, not every country, not even every state in this country sees things the same way and understands it the same way and calls it the same things. There's a lot of foods, like I'm from Pennsylvania originally and I lived in New York. There's a lot of foods from that area that down here people don't know what you're talking about. And that's the same country. So now open that up to an international audience. We try to be respectful of everyone, but at the same token, we're always going to learn something that we didn't know, a name or a way to say something that we didn't know. We didn't mean to be offensive. We took the correction. But if you get rude about it, and that's just how it is in your country, but not in our country, I can't help you then. And something else that I want to say, as much as we are an international channel and we try to be open to everyone, something like 70% of our audience is American. So as much as you can say, like this is going to come up later on the next one, as much as you can say, like the rest of the world does this, well, most of our audience does it our way. So it gets complicated. Okay, so being mean to us about things like that isn't helpful to anyone, is really the point. And I'm not yelling at you, because anybody that's probably watching this is not the people we are talking about. I will say that right now.
Probably.
The people that watch this show are not the problem. I can almost unequivocally say that, because, you're just not. Most of the people that make these comments, they've made one comment on our channel, and it's that one.
And so we're going to migrate into the next thing, which is kind of a parallel, because it's word based in how you use systems within your particular region. So we've already stated we're in the United States, and so we speak American, because
you can't really call it English. It's American English
anymore. It's American English. And so the words, the slang, the everything is based on where we're at.
And how our language evolved.
Right. Yeah. That doesn't make us wrong or stupid or ignorant. It's just, this is how we as people communicate with the other people in our area.
All right. What she's getting to is the metric system.
So if I just start speaking German, one, I'm going to piss Brian off. So that can be added to this list. But two, anybody who doesn't speak German isn't going to know what the heck I'm talking about.
And this is what happens. We've had many people say this. Why don't you use the metric system like the other 95% of the world? Okay, you're right. Most countries have adopted the metric system. But let me go back to that statistic earlier. 70% of our audience is American, which means they don't use the metric system. When we have tried to introduce the metric system, the Americans don't understand what to do. This is where I'm going to say something about the rest of the world, and especially Europeans. Most Europeans actually understand the American system better than the Americans understand the metric system. So conversions are really simple to make. I just do a Google thing and check it really fast. I've memorized some of them. Like, for instance, 1 U.S. gallon equals 3.75 liters. I just know that off the top of my head. Does that help you? Maybe, maybe not. A lot of people in like England and Europe just round that off to 4 liters and make the same recipe. And it's close enough. It's probably fine.
But this also comes up with recipe building, because we are using the ingredients and the volumes that are available to us here. They're based on the American measurement system. And so,
which is, I'm going to be the first to admit it. The American measurement system is stupid. much prefer metric. If we could just be all metric, I would love that.
It would be great. It'd be swell.
But it doesn't work.
We're not in charge of that department. So.
And I'm gonna give you, Jericho's sort of getting there. But I'm gonna give you an analogy. Telling us to just use metric, period, is basically the same thing as me telling you, like let's say you speak French as your native language, and everyone you live in France. Everyone around you speaks French. Your stores, signs, everything is all in French. Your newspaper's in French. Everything is in French. If I told you to suddenly start speaking Chinese, you can only use Chinese all the time for everything. How well do you think that's going to work for you? It's not, because no one but you is going to understand what you're doing. And that's the same thing for us. If we started just automatically using everything in metric, first we alienate our American audience, which is 70% of our audience. And if I walked into Publix and started asking for things in metric, they would look at me like I had 3 heads, especially now that we live out in the middle of nowhere. Trust me, they probably don't know what the metric system is.
Now, conversely, if we watch our analytics, which we do, and we saw that our American audience just kind of goes away, and we are primarily a European audience-based channel, then we would use the metric system. Mm-hmm. And the subset would be the American measurement system. Yeah. Because ultimately, we're trying to please our audience and communicate as clearly as we can with you.
This comes back to the cider thing, though. A lot of people ask, like, oh, what is that in metric? And I have no problem answering that. That's totally cool, because that's a conversion thing and all that. I'm talking about the people that get rude and say, oh,
stupid Americans,
why don't you just use metric like the rest of the world? Those are the people we're talking about.
We don't have the ability to make that change.
Because here's the thing. I could turn around and say, or why don't you just switch to the American system?
Yeah.
It works both ways. It really does. And here's the funny thing. We actually use a lot of both.
Yeah.
I never realized it until recently. I was watching a video. I was like, oh my God, we're using grams of this, teaspoons of that, liters of this, milliliters for bottles, ounces for bottles, gallons for fermenters. And sometimes it's liters for fermenters. We have 5 liter. We are literally using both all the time.
Yeah.
And we probably should make the conversion more apparent, showing it on the screen, but I think a lot of people know how to do it by now.
I try to always have it in both. And that's hopefully amongst our rants and being silly, you're getting that regardless of how frustrating it is for us, we are doing our best to include everyone and to try to speak everybody's language. And that's really difficult and really challenging for an internationally based channel, but it's something that we try to do regardless.
I have actually had this happen. This is along the lines of the metric thing, but it's not exactly the same. We've actually had people say, why don't you do your videos in this other language? And I mean, it's a language that, like, to countries that I've never been to. Like, not obscure, but, and I don't want to name names, but just other countries that have a completely different language, completely different culture to us. Why don't we do our videos in that language?
Because we don't know that language?
Speak that language?
And
that wasn't a good enough answer, though.
Yeah.
And if it only happened once,
it would frequently enough.
I've had at least 15 people say that at some point over 7.5 years. I'm just like, what in the world would make you think that was an okay thing to ask? Like, did you think that we're just going to suddenly start doing things in a different language that we don't know? I don't understand it. And that's why I say it goes along with the metric thing.
Sure.
Because it's just bizarre. And that's not one that makes, that's not a thing that pisses me off. That's things that make you go, like, how did you think that was a good thing to ask?
I think part of that stems from the fact that we would never ask anyone to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, we're not that way.
We would never ask our friends that live in the UK to translate things. And like, they do, because we're friends with them and we thank them for it, but we can Google Foo, we can do the translation. It's fine.
Plus, actually, YouTube now, even though it's sort of an irritating thing to some people, has the automatic speech translation. So like, you might be watching me talking right now and it's a woman speaking Spanish to you. It is possible. They do the AI auto translation, and sometimes they don't get the genders right and stuff like that. But even still.
Yeah. All right. So We're just trying to speak everybody's language.
And I really hope that this isn't putting anybody off. I hope you're finding as much tongue-in-cheek and humor in this as we sort of do. This is venting for us a little bit, but it's also kind of a little behind the scenes, letting you guys know what goes on and some of the stuff that gets said. And I know it's the internet.
Yeah.
And everybody has...
they don their cape of...
whatever you want to call it.
Where you don't know who I am.
Anonymity.
Anonymity, that word.
And not anonymity?
I don't know.
Anonymity. We'll just say that.
And lots of times people will say something just downright rude and Brian will be like, what the heck? In response, and they'll be like, oh,
I didn't expect anybody to respond.
I didn't think anybody would actually read
why'd you freaking
these?
say it?
I was like, come on.
Because, that's how I was brought up. Like, if you can't back up what you're saying, don't say it. If you aren't prepared to get the repercussions of saying something, don't say it. So I come from that kind of perspective. And when I see some of these comments, I'm just like, and you expect me to help you? Because I've actually had people literally, like you can see, they leave 3 comments on 3 different videos. The first one, they tell us we're stupid because we don't use the metric system. Then the next one, we're idiots and don't understand anything because we called it hard cider. And then the third one, I have a problem with my brew. Could you please help me? How much do you think I want to help that person at that point?
What is my motivation?
However, all you got to do is a modicum of respect, and we're happy to help because that's what we're here to do.
Absolutely.
But people that are just outright rude about the same things over and over and over again.
We heard you the first time.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Still not impressed.
Yep.
Speaking of not being impressed.
Before we get there.
All right.
Something I want to say. When we say a lot of people say this, or it's happened a lot, I want you to understand the perspective here. We average 50 to 100, sometimes 200 comments a day on our channel across all the videos. Because I don't know if you realize it, but when you comment on a video, the YouTube creator has an app where they can see all the comments as they come in. And that's where a lot of people are like, I know this is an older video. Doesn't matter. Old video, new video, doesn't matter. We see them in chronological order as they come in. So if you comment on 3 different videos within 5 minutes, I see 3 comments. I don't have to go to each video to see them. So what I wanted to say on that is between 50 and say 200 comments every single day for 7.5 years. That's a lot of comments. All in all, in 7.5 years, I'm going to say less than 200 comments fall into the things like this that piss us off. That's a really good percentage.
Yeah. You might have to do a follow-up video of things that make us stupid happy.
I just want to put it in perspective that this isn't just complaining. I want to explain things, but there's always that one. But this is the thing, like, it's amazing that those are the ones that stick out.
Yeah.
For some reason, negatives always seem to carry more weight than the positives.
And they make you question yourself, regardless of whether you know, of course, I'm doing the right thing because I've done the research and I know my audience and I'm dedicated to this craft. But you still can't help, because it's human nature, to question. And that's part of the frustration. Like, things that frustrate you the most are the things that actually make you question yourself.
Right. But it's usually the 80-20 rule. And the 80-20 rule is this. 80% of this, it comes from 20% of that. So like it should be, and this is common across YouTube and other social media platforms, 80% of comments are totally fine. They're innocuous. 20% are nasty, mean, demeaning, rude, whatever. And I don't mean correcting us or, giving a different opinion. I mean being rude, obnoxious, or condescending. There's a big difference because you can disagree with someone and be completely respectful about it. And you can disagree with someone and be completely an asshole about it too.
Yeah. When you go down to name calling, that's not appropriate. That's not helpful. And that's not going to get anybody anywhere.
But my point is 80-20 is the typical way that it happens. We're more like 99-1. We had like 1% of comments are a problem. And I know that that is special on YouTube in particular. A lot of comment sections are cesspools, and they would wish they only had 20% were a problem. They probably have it the other way around. 80% are causing a problem for the 20% that are trying to be nice. So we are very thankful that our audience has some respect and a modicum of grace and class. You know, keep it classy, people.
All right, so we're going to get back into the silliness and slightly more uplifting. This thing, I don't think really pisses us off. It just makes us go, why? Why? And that's quotes.
Yep. Like, I made a wine. I made mead.
Did you ferment honey? Then you made mead. You don't need quotes around it. You made mead. It doesn't matter that you did it at home.
And I don't understand this one because I see it in writing, and I hear people doing like quote, and I'm like, what are you doing? You really did. You made mead. You made a lot of. This comes from a lot of people do not believe, because it was a lost tradition. They don't believe that they can actually do this at home. So they think that in some way they're faking it.
Yeah,
or they're taking a shortcut.
It's a false mead or a false wine. It's not actual wine.
But 100 years ago, this is exactly how they did it.
Yeah.
And they still called it wine, mead, cider, and beer. I've seen people do it with beer, and I'm like, you literally did the mash-in process. You boiled it. You boiled in the hops. You did the whole thing, and you're still calling it beer.
How could it be anything other than
totally made
beer?
Like, that's totally beer. There's nothing fake about it. But it's a modern thing that people believe that they can't do it at home, and that's really what it is. A lot of people think that they cannot get good food at home. They have to go to a restaurant in order to get good food, or it has to be a commercial product.
I hope you're sitting down, because if you're cooking at home, that's where the good food is.
You're probably getting better food at home than you're ever going to get in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And maybe not in the traditional tasting ways, but trust me, if you eat in a restaurant every single day, you'll have problems.
Yep.
Just the way it is.
Yep.
But anyway, the quotes thing. It's funny, but it's kind of irritating too, because I've actually asked many people, like, why did you put quotes on that? Did you not really make wine? Oh, well, it's because I just used juice. So?
Still wine.
This also goes along with turbo cider.
Ugh.
Turbo cider is not a thing, okay? People were calling it, it's kind of stopped now, but people were calling any cider made from juice turbo cider. And I'm saying that in quotes. I've also had people say that if you make cider from juice, it's not actually cider. I'm like, well, then what is it? And they said, it's an abomination. Yeah. Oh, you're funny. You know, like, that's the kind of comments we get sometimes. I'm just like, so where did this come from? Because here's more so even than wine. Let me explain apple cider for you. You take a whole apple. You chip it up, you break it up into little pieces, then you squeeze it. Then you take that juice and you ferment it. You just made cider, or hard cider if you're an American and you don't understand what I'm talking about.
So if you just use the juice,
you just cut out a middleman.
You just cut some steps out.
You still made cider though.
Is it going to be the same quality? No, but
not necessarily.
Still cider.
But you could still make, you could still go through the whole process with bad apples or horrible tasting apples and make a cider that's worse than you could make with a juice.
Yeah.
So these are the little things that I just go, where is this coming from? Why?
And the quotes thing, I think it's getting worse. And like, people start putting quotes on stuff that just doesn't make sense.
When you have more than one set of quotes in the same sentence.
I used my quote unquote fermenter.
Yeah. Is it not really a fermenter?
Is it a shoe?
I've actually seen people, I fermented grape juice.
Did you?
What do you mean by that?
Utilize yeast to convert sugars into alcohol?
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, like, if people actually understand what the quotes thing is for.
I don't know. It's silly. It's confusing.
Yeah.
And
that's the one that I find funny, because I just, like, it literally makes me do the dog thing of like, huh? Like, why did you do that? And I see it all the time. Like, it literally almost every day we see the quotes thing.
Yeah.
And it's just really bizarre why and where it came from. The only thing I can figure is they don't want to make the statement. They want to almost feel like they're making a softer statement by saying, I made wine. You know, and they're not saying it like, I made wine.
You made wine.
No, you made wine.
Own
you
that.
freaking made wine. Just accept it. Move forward. It's okay. There's nothing to be afraid of. You made wine. You made beer. You made cider. You made mead. Be proud. You know, Don't hide behind the air quotes. There's a t-shirt. Don't hide behind air quotes.
I think that would confuse people. I don't know.
That's the point. That's the point.
All right. So we're going to wrap up this monstrosity with assumptions. And this one, because I just wrote down notes when I was filling this out. And Brian's like, what do you mean by assumptions? About assumptions? Well, there have been a lot of assumptions made about us as people based on, I don't even know what.
Yeah. The first assumption people make is that everything that they see us do on camera is how we are in real life 24/7.
We cannot be on film 24/7. We would.
I'll be honest. I'm a grumpy bastard most of the time.
Run around in circles and just pass out. I don't know.
But they assume that we're drunk all the time, or that we're just stupid, silly, and make no sense and have no regard for anything.
Brian is drinking water, and I am drinking Spindrift pink lemonade. So no alcohol has been consumed
and
at
it's
all.
5 after 1 in the afternoon. I mean, it's totally drink o'clock somewhere, isn't it? So the assumption that we're drunk all the time is really odd to me, because we've said it so many times that we don't like to be drunk.
Yeah. We would consume a lot more alcohol if we weren't going to get drunk from it.
Oh yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
We were all in and
a little buzz is cool, but beyond that, no.
But it's all about flavor. We like really the flavor. It's just the flavor.
Yeah, if it doesn't taste good, I'm not doing it. That's why, like, you'll hear us say on the tasting room, we're not going to do shots. The reason why is because that just gets you drunk fast.
Yeah.
That's all it really does.
It has zero appeal to both of us.
I don't like it. I was never a shots guy. Never did it.
So there's been some personal assumptions that I really don't want to go into because it's hurtful and cruel. Rude. And why would you say that to another human being? But then there's also been assumptions about our knowledge base.
Yeah. And these crack me up.
And I can see
sometimes
how some people may, particularly if they're new to the channel and haven't really watched a lot or seen you do like a math problem just by staring off in space for 2 seconds.
I do that.
That just because we don't utilize a thing doesn't mean that we don't understand its usage and its place. It's a personal choice. And many of our personal choices, particularly on City Steading Brews for recipes, is because we pay attention to our audience.
Yeah.
We know most of our audience are here because they want something simple, easy, and approachable. So we're not going to be throwing a bunch of random stuff in there.
Right.
That's going to complicate the issue unless it has a specific place and reason for being included. But that doesn't mean we don't know about those things or that we're afraid of them.
Yeah, that's another one. People think we're afraid of and I'm just going to use the word chemicals, even though I know water's a chemical too. I know, blah, blah, blah.
I didn't add that to the list because, but that's another thing.
But that's a thing. Like, people think that we're afraid of these things. Not at all. In fact, quite the opposite. We have battled between the two of us over 7.5 years on the usage of these things.
Yep.
Because in the very beginning, it was all about brewing as simply as possible, using as few additives and extra things as possible, keeping it more to a fermentable, water or liquid, and yeast. That's it. And, additions for flavoring only. That was what the channel really started as and was meant to be. And over time, I started to do more research and learn more. Now, keep in mind, by the time the channel started, we'd already been brewing for quite some time.
Yeah.
Simply just doing it the way we did. And it was working fine. But as I tend to do, I research things and I get down a rabbit hole. And then I learned about this thing or about that thing. So I said, hey, why don't we try it? She was usually resistant to it because she would say, it's working so far. Why do we need to change? And if you follow us through time, you'll see that we used to start a brew with no nutrients, no additives of any kind, and we hoped it ended sweet. And a lot of time they did. because sometimes they stalled. And we didn't really know that's why it ended that way, but it did. Sometimes it was because we had too much sugars. Other times it was because maybe there wasn't enough nutrients. It's hard to tell which is which sometimes. But over time, we realized that, that's unreliable and doesn't really work that well. So what if we ferment dry and then back sweeten and pasteurize? Because we don't really want to use sorbate and sulfite in our brews because honestly, we can taste it. I can taste it. Any commercial brew that has it in there, we can taste it or smell it.
And yes, we are aware that there's naturally occurring sorbates.
Yeah.
We're not,
well,
again,
sulfites.
don't make that assumption.
Yeah, there are some naturally occurring sulfites in almost any fermentation, and that is a thing. But we don't feel the need to add more, okay? That's the gist, because it feels unnecessary to us. And that's the thing. It's not that we're afraid to do it. It's unnecessary. Why put something in there unless it has a real purpose? In our uses, mostly the only purpose that it had was it made it somehow less for us, okay? And we like to keep things simple. Then over time, the back sweetening and pasteurization thing, I started to say, what if, actually, here's how it happened. I remember now. Somebody said there's a meadery in Orlando that they stop fermentation early because the yeast breaks down the sugars differently. And I was like, what? That can't be. And then I looked it up. They're right. They're absolutely right. We learned something from that. And this is where 90% of our learning comes from, is from you guys telling us things. As long as it's done in a respectful way, that kind of thing. So I looked it up and I found out that, yeast break down the sugars differently. So when they break apart a honey molecule, the honey molecule, whatever, when they break apart honey, they leave some types of sugars and consume others, so that it's not the same if you back sweeten with raw honey versus stopping it early. You get different levels of different types of sugars, making a slightly different product. Now, whether that's better or not is yet up for debate because we haven't actually tested it. But
we do feel like
we feel like it's working.
There's a difference, and it is a positive difference. So we're constantly reevaluating. Brian spends every single morning, 3 hours every morning, watching, reading articles, researching
studies,
all the topics, whether it be how to ferment honey or different yeast strains or different equipment, different procedures, different recipes, different everything.
And this is where the assumptions come in. I read a lot and see a lot and have more information probably than you should have as a home brewer. But most of it, we look at it and we say, should this be applied? Not can we. Should we apply this to our methodology? Is this something that adds to what we're doing in a significant enough way to make it worthwhile? Pasteurization was one of the first that actually, that significantly applied to the way we do things and made a huge change. Keg carbonation was another one, very big. We've actually kind of backtracked a little bit on nutrients and even the pH thing. We learned pH wasn't nearly as crucial as we thought it was.
At least it wasn't that one specific test that was not definitive.
But we've not had a problem since.
Right.
Now, I just want to go on record as saying this. If you are the type of person that wants to take readings of the pH and you want to make sure that your water chemistry is an exact way, and you want to make sure that you use exactly the right staggered nutrient schedule,
if that brings you joy,
for it.
Do it.
Go for it. That is not my style. That is not the way I would want to brew. That's why we don't show that on our show. But I will never tell you that you're wrong. We will always say, in our experience, we preferred this. And I'm going to say it. We did a nutrients and no nutrients test. And in a blind taste test, the one with no nutrients applied tasted the best. And many people told me they've done the same thing and had the same result. So this is why we question everything now. I'm not going to just blindly accept because someone said it or this is the commonly held belief. I do the research on it. Now, what does a nutrient really bring to the table when you add it? It makes it ferment a little bit faster, and maybe with a higher gravity, it can ferment cleaner and produce less esters or less off flavors. That is entirely possible. But we also have seemed to find this sweet spot, the 1.100 and below gravity range to start, that it doesn't seem to have as much effect, at least in our tests and in our experiences. Your mileage may vary. And if it does, That's awesome. I'm happy for you. I'm glad you can tell the difference. And if this is the way you want to do it, or that's the way you want to do it, I'm going to applaud you and welcome it and be helpful if you have a question. But when people tell us that we're stupid or don't know anything or don't understand brewing at all because we don't use these things, this is where they're missing the point.
And I think the hidden point that many of the, we'll say, naysayers don't understand or don't take into consideration is that we have a greater accountability. And it's not just to us, it is to you. So we strive to make everything we do, all the choices we make, everything we share, all of our ingredients, flavor profiles, all of that to be able to help you succeed and to create something and to really enjoy this hobby. So a lot of our decisions are made not based on our personal preferences, but on what our audience wants.
Right. That's very true too. And part of the going back on the nutrients and some of the other stuff was as a result of a little bit of blowback from the audience in comments about, well, you know, I did everything that you did in this, except that I left out the nutrients. That started to become a very common thing. And I was like, well, you know, maybe we ought to re-examine this. And then when we did that test, that pretty much convinced me. I don't think we used them in one brew since then. Just one. And so that's like, what, 3-4 months now?
Yeah.
Yep. And we did it in the one brew because there was extra, it hasn't come out yet. That's why I have, actually, yeah, it's come out already. It was in the no water sour sop.
Oh, okay.
We did add nutrients because the pulp in the nectar actually artificially raised the gravity to 1.130. And I said,
sour sop comes out this week.
Yeah.
Right.
This doesn't come out until after sour sop.
Okay.
This is now. That's then. Yeah.
Yay. The life of a creator.
Yeah. So in that one, the pulp artificially raised the gravity. It made it more dense.
Yeah.
And when I later on in the video, I actually did the math and figured out the actual gravity, we probably could have gotten by without it. But did it hurt anything? I don't think so. But it wasn't necessary. And that's the thing. I see people doing this. They will literally throw everything into a brew at the start. They're putting pectic enzyme in mead with no fruit. Why? There's no pectin in honey. So it's not going to help you. It's not going to do anything. But they're putting it in there because somebody told them they have to. Then they're throwing in, you know, Fermate O or Fermate K or diammonium phosphate. Why? They don't know. But somebody told them they had to. So that's why they're doing it.
Candom tablets, and then they throw in their yeast and nothing happens and they don't know why.
Yeah. I've seen that too. I've actually heard of people that threw in sodium, potassium phosphate and potassium, whatever. They sorbated and sulfited before they even put their yeast in. I'm like, well, that's why it didn't work. Oh, I saw this other guy online telling me I have to do that. I'm like, you took it out of context. Now, I don't sorbate and I don't sulfite. I never actually have. We used Camden tablets in like 2 videos and they both did weird things to us.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
We didn't like them. So we don't use it. Now, I know some people that want to put a Canon tablet in every time they rack and things like that. And if that makes you happy, go for it. It's not necessary, in our opinion, in our experience. We have made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of brews, never once had one oxidize, other than the one that we left this much in a bottle on the shelf for 6 months.
That was, of course it did.
It was an exception to the rule.
Of course it did.
We just don't have those problems. Now, is it possible we've just been very lucky? Absolutely. Of course it is. But I'm going with the law of averages here. How many thousands of bottles of homebrew have we made and we've never had that problem?
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's kind of like quicksand when you were a kid. Every cartoon showed somebody in quicksand and you were like scared of quicksand. It was like a huge problem.
I need special shoes or something, or a quicksand testing stick.
In your daily life, how often do you run into quicksand? Same thing. Is it something to be aware of, something to be careful of? Sure, but not really something to be terrified of, is my point. So that's where we get to a lot of the additives and some of the methods like staggered yeast nutrition and stuff like that. We just don't do it because we've not seen any compelling evidence to say that it's necessary to do in the most of the situations that we brew in. That's the important aspect that I think a lot of people miss sometimes.
Yeah, there's lots of caveats there.
If I was looking to make like beyond what yeast can handle for alcohol tolerance,
Then we'd be throwing all the stuff.
then you got to do it. And you got to understand what you're doing, or else it's not going to work right.
Baby and coddle your yeast.
There's so many ways to do it. And, honestly, we've done a couple of step feeds and done those things, and they didn't work out that well for us, which tells me I don't have as much experience using all those things as some do. And, well, I didn't really care at the time. Like, I don't care. Can I not make an 18% mead? So what? It doesn't bother me. I can make a great 12%. Because the funny thing is, too, as you go higher in alcohol, they get harsher. They take longer to age. Usually, that's a generality. But in general, they're harder to balance the flavors. You need longer to age it. And it just, in general, isn't as much of a pleasant experience for me. So, like I always say, instead of making one bottle at 18%, have 2 glasses at 12. I mean, I don't know, just drink a little bit more instead of more alcohol in one.
So if you're still with us, you're probably asking, what was the point of this podcast? Well, honestly, the point of this podcast was to let you know a little bit more about us and what motivates us and not just what triggers us, but why those things bother us, to show that we are trying to communicate to everyone. We are trying to serve everyone's needs as best as we can. And that everything we do on all of our channels has a reason and purpose behind it.
Right. And that's kind of the point that I've been trying to make about all the other stuff. If it doesn't have a reason or a purpose, we don't find a reason or a purpose to do it. And that's why we don't do it. But people assume that means we don't know. Trust me, we know. We know, because they've told us a million times. We know. We know. But yeah, this video was kind of it was actually really cathartic to me. Yeah, it was great.
Just shake it all out.
Got to get a lot of stuff out there. And, most of you who are watching, if you're still here, you understand where we're coming from on this. You see the smile on my face. I'm laughing because I think it's kind of funny that we did a video about this. Wasn't it my idea? Didn't I say things that piss us off? Or did you say it?
It was a combination. Like most of our stuff is
kind of happened. And I just think it's funny because there's so many little things that, as a viewer, you might not realize. So this is behind the scenes. This is like pulling the curtain back and telling you all the stuff that happens.
Yeah, we're showing you the man behind Oz.
If you are one of the people that I pointed a finger at in this video, please don't be offended. Instead, learn from it, just like we learned from your comments what to do and what not to do. We're telling you as creators, if you want us to be able to help you, you got to be a little nicer and a little understanding.
Let us help you.
Yeah, help us to help you.
There you go.
And there's so much to it. And here's the thing. We're real people. At the end of the day, we're real people. You're real people. Real people? We're real people and you're real people. Yeah, that's hard to say.
Words.
So we want to treat all of you with the same respect that we expect to be treated with. That's really all it comes down to. Understanding makes the world go round. Are we done?
We are so done. If you'd like us to do a follow-up of what things make us really happy, let us know in the comments below.
Yeah. And as always, guys, thanks so much for listening and have a great day.
Bye-bye.
I almost always forget my end line for that.